Hello, welcome to the video show. I'm Mark from Red Book Productions, and in this episode we're going to be talking about how to be a great podcast guest. This also works for a great sort of video guest as well. But if you're a guest on a show or a guest on a podcast, here are some really good tips from somebody that makes podcasts regularly, works with people that are guests on podcasts regularly, and I want to make sure that all the guests on the podcast I make are really prepared for what's going to come afterwards. So, firstly, this one is very important. Have headshots ready to send across to the video or podcast producer. The reason I put this is because they're going to need to use your headshots in thumbnails, in promotion for the episode. And if they have to scrabble around the internet to find a really old pixelated photo of you, because that's the only photo of you available, or an AI generated image of you that's your LinkedIn profile picture, it's very annoying. But if you can send across 4 or 5 really good headshots with you in different backgrounds or different scenarios, it's so good to have that as an option for using it on the promotional material. So send across 4 or 5 different headshots to the podcast producer and they will love you forever. Have a bio about yourself, so with relevant history, with stuff you're going to be talking about on the show, and then links that they're going to add to the video description. If the podcast producer has to look around for them, it just takes them a little bit of extra time. But if you can say, right, just add this to the bio, the description of the episode, they will find that, so they will be so appreciative. I swear. I find that I'm sort of scrabbling around for links, but if you can just send across, can you just add these links to the description? It saves a lot of time, and it's also the links that you actually want people to look for as well. So it makes a lot of sense. If you're recording remotely, this is my next point, make sure your audio and video is as good as you possibly can make it. So I put a lot of effort into making the audio and the video for these and making them as good as possible. So if I'm shooting a podcast remotely, if I'm a guest or if I'm live streaming, it's a really good quality camera, as you can see, and the audio's top notch as well. I see with podcast guests, if they're just using their inbuilt webcam and their inbuilt microphone, it's not quite up to scratch. But if they're using even like an external 1080p webcam, it makes a lot of difference. And then a plug-in USB microphone, it makes a lot of difference. You don't have to spend loads, but if you do want to know a little bit more about what would fit in with your budget, just message me on here and I can tell you, like, for your budget, you can get this and it's pretty good. Bring value, not just a sales pitch. So there was an episode of, I can't remember what it was, but of Boris Johnson being interviewed, I think it was last year or the year before, and they're interviewing him because he's a former prime minister, but all he wanted to do was, in my book, buy my book, talking about his book. Every question he wanted to dodge, he would just sort of refer back to his book. I'll try and find a clip of this.
If you read Unleashed, you will see. If you read Unleashed, you will see why.
So,
yes, failed to mention this. Promoting my book, Unleashed. The answer is obviously contained in Unleashed, where you will find the full, discussion of this subject.
We're not all going to read your book, so just tell us.
Do you want... I'm allowed to plug my book. I'm allowed to plug my book.
So we're just getting back to this.
I'm blissfully engaged, promoting my book, Unleashed, available in all good booksellers.
It's very annoying if you're just trying to have a conversation with someone and they're just trying to sell you something. So for Boris Johnson with his book, it was quite obvious that all he was there for was just to sell his book. He wasn't there to have an interesting conversation. So be there primarily to have an interesting conversation. And if you're promoting something, there will be a section within the podcast where you could promote what you're doing as well. Ask about how the podcast will be structured. So if there's any points where there's going to be something like a novelty thing come up, or a particular section you need to be prepared for where they're going to ask you like quick fire questions, just ask for what those questions are and then you're just prepared for it. So you don't have to sort of think and then come up with something that you're not happy with afterwards. Just ask what those questions are going to be, ask how it's all going to be structured, and then you'll just be a little bit more prepared than you would be otherwise. And if you've listened to other episodes of that podcast, that will be a good practice as well. Engage on the day, so be enthusiastic. Listen to what the podcast host is saying and asking, and then just react to them, have that conversation with them, and the podcast will go really, really well. Lastly, this seems really obvious, but share the episode when it's live. So the full episode will go out, and then there'll probably be clips that go out as well. So share those clips as well. This is really good promotion for you as well. So as I said, if you're promoting something, this is leads to the main episode. It's another way of getting your message across. So even ask for those clips so you can share those out, or if you see that those clips or that episode is being shared, share those on your social media platforms as well. So I think there's some really good tips there. Let me know what you think and if there's anything I missed. And I'll see you next time in the next episode of The Video Show. Goodbye.